Thanks for joining me in our third lesson of Proverbs 31, a proverb which describes the character and relationships, habits of a woman I call Moxy. I'm Jeannie, and in this lesson, we come to the end of the instruction the Queen offers her son before she begins describing that perfect partner. This proverb is filled with descriptives. These are just a few that stand out to me this week. She is fearless. She is open. She contemplates. She cares. And she speaks out. Last week we talked about the child within. I trust you took some time to play this past week. I hope you watched her grow, even if it was for the slightest bit. Did you listen as the adult? Did you find that in doing so, you were listening differently to others? Did you watch some reruns to see it through the adult's eyes? I hope you wrote a few letters. Did you give yourself permission to grow up? I trust you did. Remember, this is not a one-time lesson. These are tools that can be used for the rest of your life, and if you're like me, there's an endless supply of childish things that creep up. Just when I think I'm making it to the end of the list, I turn the corner and I'm faced with new little faces looking up at me. Setting ourselves free is how we move forward. It's how we get rid of the dysfunction in our life. It's how we become truly successful. I'll remind you once again that there is a workbook available, and it can be ordered through asilverthread.com. So if you have a workbook, or if you're working off of a notepad, it's time to open them up, grab something to drink, and let's get started. This lesson is a bit different than the first two. In this lesson, we're going to group several verses together. So lesson 3 starts with, "Don't give it away." Yes, my son, before you look at your partner, let me give you one final instruction about your own character. Be a good man. The verse reads, "Do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to the pleasures of kings." Translation, son, before you look at who you should be seeking out, let's look at a few things you need to remember. Don't give your strength away. I wonder if the Queen Mom was referring to people I call life suckers. I love how those letters bounce on the screen. They are those who enter a room and immediately drain it of its energy. They are the ones who manipulate your time and expect you to be consumed with their personal problems while never taking the initiative to fix it themselves or to get on with their life. They are the ones that when you are exhausted and they have drained you of all of your energy, they easily and quickly move on to someone else. They are self-centered, self-serving, and in other words, they are selfish. They take your strength from you. Who in your life sucks the life out of you? I'm sure when we talk about life suckers, there's a few images that came to mind. I'd like you to write them down if you have the guts, and if not, just remember their names. And I wish I had a simple answer as to how to deal with these people, but I don't. I do, however, have a suggestion, but you're going to have to wait a few minutes before we can get there. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who wants you opposed to someone who needs you? Feeling needed is wonderful. It fulfills our personal desire to be important. It also requires something of us. We are needed for a reason. We are needed to fulfill an existing void. Something changes inside when we feel wanted. In a strange way, it frees us. In some ways, it actually can energize us. Needing can take our strength, but being wanted gives it back. So don't waste your strength on things that are not important. What a profound statement. The second half of the verse says this, "Nor your ways to the pleasures of kings." Kings can have whatever they want. For those of us outside the castle, this sounds pretty good. For those who have lived in a world where everything and anything is at their beckoning call, there are some dangers. Many of us would say, hey, if I had riches, I would remember not to waste them. But we do have riches. We all have something that belongs to us. No matter how much or how little we feel we have, there is someone with less who would feel as if they were king if they had your wealth. Our ability to manage our belongings, or for that matter, our lack, is an essential part of our life. So, son or daughter, don't waste your strength. Choose your relationships wisely. Don't waste what riches you have been given, and don't allow them to ruin you. We can become just as ruined by resentment and jealousy, even hatred of others, if we feel that they have more than us, or perhaps somehow have taken our portion. Abundance and lack can have that same effect. What in your life wastes your strength? What wastes your time, your energy, your resources, and why? Again, I don't have an immediate fix for this, but we're going to talk about it in the coming verses. Take some time to write down your answers. Observe this coming week. Write down those things that make you feel as if they are robbing you of your time, and we'll deal with them shortly. So, what do you do with these life suckers? Many would like to run away, but they will follow you. We would like to hide, but we'll be found. I've heard from many that they thought that actually moving away or starting a new job would free them of these life suckers, only to find out that there were new ones waiting for them. The secret is in this phrase: don't give your strength away. We can all learn to be cordial. We can be friendly. We can be sincere. We can be concerned. But when we learn to prioritize our time and energy, we realize that limiting ourselves in a good way allows us to do what the Queen has instructed. Don't give your strength away. Remember, avoiding can take just as much of your strength as actually interacting. Hiding takes time. Be the adult, be the grown-up, and don't give it away. The second instruction is this: don't lose control. And the verse reads, "It is not for King Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, neither is strong drink for rulers, lest he drink and forget what was made law, and change the judgment of all the impoverished. Give strong drink to the one who is perishing, and wine to those of bitter soul. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and let him remember his misery no more." Although many would like to separate these verses, I'm not sure that they should be. The first verse is a statement, the second is a reason, and the next two are examples for this young king to compare himself to. There is a part in every one when we lose control. That point for each differs. However, the result is the same. And the Queen Mom is not focused on the recklessness of crossing over the line. She is focused on those who may be affected by a king who crosses the line. Her concern is for the people who need a king to protect them, who need their king to be wise. We lose control in so many ways: anger, eating, health, money, time, to name just a few. Where do you lose control? And what are your hot buttons? What are your trigger points? The opposite is just as dangerous. What do you feel the need to control? What do you hold on too tightly to? Remember, when we hold on too tightly, we run the risk of actually breaking it. Why we react to trigger points or hot buttons requires an understanding of how those particular things became hot buttons in the first place. The easiest and fastest way to understand how is to keep asking ourselves, why? Why does this bother me? With each answer, we can ask that question again. Why does that bother me? Eventually, we weed through all the reasons and uncover our own hearts, which typically leads to an old wound or a deep hurt. But this doesn't need to scare us anymore, because we've learned how to heal those wounds, haven't we? We know how to grow up now. I play this game often. I call it chasing the rabbit. Sometimes you have to force yourself to continue because it's easy to stop too early. The secret is you'll know when you're at the end, when the answer is about you and not about somebody else. There will also most likely be a physical reaction. You will sigh deeply. Your shoulders will drop and you will begin to smile like a little Cheshire cat as you have a real aha moment. Most often, once that wound is healed, we have to relearn some behaviors. If we've been living our life reacting in a certain situation, we must take some time to retrain our minds to react differently, to be calm, to find a new way to respond. In these situations is when we have a tendency to bring our past into our future. When you find yourself saying, "Here I am again. This is happening to me again. Why do I have to do this again? Why do I have to talk to that person again? It's just going to be the same. I've been here before. I know what the response is going to be." What we're actually doing is reaching behind us and we're unlocking the door of our past and we're inviting it to flood into our future. We have to stop ourselves and remind ourselves that it isn't the same. Something has changed. Some rules have changed. Some of the players have changed. You're not the same person anymore. If you have a individual that you just feel you turn into a child every time that they come into the room, you don't know what's wrong with you. But boy, when you interact with this person, you are 5 years old again. It doesn't have to be that the next time. You have to stop yourself from thinking it's going to be the same. It's not. You're not that 5-year-old hurt child any longer. You're an adult. You're looking at life through adults' eyes. You've put those childish things away. So now every experience is going to be new. It's going to be different. And you're going to have to learn some new behaviors. You're going to have to learn how to react differently. You don't have to put your guard up so quickly. You don't have to be defensive all the time. You need to learn how to remain calm, to keep an open mind, to find new ways to respond. And our third instruction is this: to speak out. And the verse says, "Open your mouth for those who cannot speak for themselves, to the cause of all whose help has passed. Open your mouth, judge justly, and plead the cause of the poor and the needy." Yes, my son, one last thing before we talk about who you want in a partner. Be a good person. There would be no greater epitaph than this: "He protected those who were unable to protect themselves. He helped those who were helpless. He judged justly. And he pleaded the case of the poor and the needy." Although this has been given to a young man who would be king, these words are for all of us. Before we go looking at someone else's qualifications, let's make sure we have the basics covered. If there were no other scriptures given to us, there's enough given in this verse to last us a lifetime. So yes, my son or daughter, before you look at a partner, let me give you the final instruction about your own character. Be a good person. All of our relationships, all of our habits, all of our characteristics have one common denominator: us. They all begin with who we are. One of the many reasons I love this proverb so much is that it talks to every role I play in life. The Queen's been talking to her son, but she's given me so much guidance already, and she hasn't even begun to describe Moxy. The next section begins that detailed description of Moxy. And the transition verse says this: "A woman of valor who can find, for her price is beyond pearls." I read this verse and I get goosebumps. I sit up straighter. I edge forward on my chair. A woman of valor? What could that possibly mean? It calls me. It makes me take note. Who can find? Is she really that rare? And why is that? Doesn't everyone want to be unique? Doesn't everyone want to be different, to be special, to be compared to a rare gem? I do. I want to know what it takes to be that person. In my ears, this verse rings out like a battle cry. Women of valor, where are you? We are looking for you. We need you. I want to wave my hand in the air and yell, here I am. Tell me what I need to do to be considered. Nothing like grabbing our attention at the start. A woman of valor. This is someone special, someone important, someone unique. Who can find? She is rare. There aren't many like her. For her price is beyond pearls. You can't buy this one. You can't afford it. And I love that. I already know I want to be her, whoever she is. What could possibly describe this woman? Queen Mum, pray tell, describe her to me. And she will, but unfortunately we're going to have to wait until our next lesson to begin. The prayer I leave with you this week is this: Faithful God, help us to find the things in our lives that waste our time and our energy. Teach us how to control our lives rather than be controlled by them. And give us courage to speak out for those who cannot. And when we begin looking at the faults and shortcomings of others, remind us of our own journey in this life and help us to be accepting of others' journeys. Thank you for joining me in this third lesson. I've come to appreciate the words of this queen. I may begin calling her Queen Moxy. What wisdom she had to first focus on the character of her son before she began describing the perfect partner. We will now begin examining this person called Moxy, and I promise she will not disappoint. Thank you for joining me as we become women clothed in strength and dignity and can laugh without fear of the future. Please take some time this week to connect with me. You can do so in two ways. I would love to hear about you and your Moxy journey. You can reach me through my website at jeanniegb.com or by emailing me directly at moxy@asilverthread.com. I look forward to our next lesson.